Karen,
Hi, I'm Karen.
and today we are going to talk about healthcare exchange. So, pull up our
My 2-year-old's here too.
okay. So, the state insurance exchange, we basically both started with healthcare.gov, and let me backtrack a second. So what is healthcare exchange? It's a place where families, individuals, and small businesses can go to seek and obtain healthcare coverage. And it will also help you in case you're able to be qualified for Medicaid. That will also be determined when you use the healthcare.gov or your own state's healthcare exchange. So we're going to talk about the healthcare.gov specifically, and then how does it work? So every year there's like an open enrollment period, just like you would have at your employer-sponsored options, and it just so happens that the coverage for starting in January of 2018, the open enrollment period will begin November 1st, and it'll last until mid-December. In some situations, known as life events, an applicant will be eligible for enrollment outside of these standard dates. And so one of the questions we would like answered for our discussion board this week is, have you personally ever sought out coverage through a healthcare exchange? If so, please post about your experience and include your state, the outcome, and any helpful info that you would like to give to others. Also, let's see here. Let's move on to the next one. Okay, I wanted to just talk about real quick the pros and cons to using an exchange. So first of all, they're really easy to use, especially if you're computer savvy. But if you're not, there's actually offices that you can go to, local offices that you can go into and sit down and somebody will help you. In fact, here on screen 2, or slide number 2, is the Covered California location just down the street from where I live, and there's several actually here in California all over the place, so that's the closest one to me. But if you want to share a picture of the one that's close to you and talk about that, and if you've used it, that would be great. Anyway, the other feature for using the healthcare exchange that's a pro is you can compare prices. So once you populate your options, it's really nice to do the compare screen, and you can filter all different kinds of ways through tiers or companies, which is really nice. Let's see. If you so the cons would be if you don't use that healthcare exchange and you just didn't want to have coverage, let's say, then you would be paying a tax penalty, which is not fun, because that money could really just be spent then on the insurance through the exchange. So, you know, these are things to consider. Also, in some cases, you may end up paying more for the same plan if you go outside of the exchange and say just sought out insurance through Blue Cross, for instance. You would then potentially end up paying more through their company rather than going through the exchange. And that's one of the questions that I wanted to bring up for the discussion board is, why would that be? Why would somebody end up paying more outside of the healthcare exchange? Okay, and then for slide 5, Karen's going to take over.
All right. Hi, guys. So the enrollment process for Arizona's healthcare exchange is somewhat different than California's, at least just the website. So my case study is a 27-year-old female. She lives an active lifestyle. She's very active, likes to go rock climbing, likes to be outdoors. She is not eligible for Medicaid, and she is making $24,000 a year. So I investigated what the process would be in order to sign up for Arizona's healthcare exchange. First step was I went to healthcare.gov. Unlike California, Arizona does not have its own website for the insurance market. So from the healthcare.gov website, I went to a tab labeled Individuals and Family, and this pops up as an option for people under 30 seeking healthcare coverage. So step 2, once I selected the under 30 tab, since I'm applying as a 27-year-old, it goes on to say that I can know if I qualify for Medicaid with just my income statement. So it's asking for minimal amounts of information. So once I clicked on that link, it sent me to this page where it told me to insert my zip code, my family size, so how many people I was trying to apply for, and it asked for my age and sex, and I entered that onto the next page. So the minimum income for Medicaid in Arizona, and I think nationwide, is $18,000 per month. So going off of that, I input my yearly income at $24,000 per year. So this would give me a $2,000 monthly income, which is like just barely above the federal poverty level. So I do not qualify for Medicaid with that income. So with that information, it gave me an estimated premium tax credit of $284 per month. So that would mean that my insurance premium will be reduced monthly by this amount, by $284. So I was given 4 healthcare plans available to me, but I went with the silver coverage since that seems to have the most savings available according to the website. The silver tier coverage gave me then 2 healthcare options. So I've narrowed it down to 2 healthcare options now. So the first plan was $105.53 premium, and the other one was $131.70. And this was already with the discount applied to it. And it gives me similar, very exact deductibles and out-of-pocket costs. So I decided to go with the more expensive option, saying that my tax credit was $284. So it took off quite a chunk from both. And my premium was only a $25 difference. So I went with the more expensive for better insurance. And these are just some examples of the coverage that comes with this plan. So, you know, if you were having to go give birth, the typical cost is around, $3,500, and treatment for a simple fracture, things like that. It gives you estimates on how much things would cost. So the next step is to choose a level of predicted medical care for the year. So it's asking whether I would want minimum care, medium care, or high care. So I decided to compare the medium and high, since in my scenario I'm very active and would probably want to be better insured. So given that they're pretty similar, when you go to the next slide, so medium coverage and high coverage. Medium coverage, the expected care is 6 doctor visits, 3 lab or diagnostic tests, 11 prescription drugs. If you compare it to the high coverage, there's more doctor visits involved, more lab visits, more prescription drugs. They even included a 2-day stay in the hospital, and other medical expense costs rise up to $11,900 versus just the $300 in medical cost. So in conclusion, after careful consideration, I chose a silver tier high coverage plan. The silver tier coverage gives discounts throughout the plan, such as pharmacy and doctor and emergency visits. With the silver tier coverage plan, emergency room charge was a flat fee of $250 versus the bronze, where the deductible had to be met first. Even though the yearly cost was higher for the high coverage, the 2 hospital visits included and the extra $11,600 covered in medical expenses was very worth it to me, saying that I am very active outdoors. The last and final process would be to actually fill an application with all my sensitive information, and finally just choose a provider.
Okay. So, so that was all information based on Arizona's exchange and options, which was through the healthcare.gov. And then for California, I started there as well. And once I entered in basically a few little bits of information and my zip code, it populated the Covered California site, which is California's state exchange. And like I said, there's obviously offices that you could decide to choose if you want to do it online or go there in person. You can also call that phone number if you're in California. And so I went to the shop and compare tool. And there you just enter some basic information similar to what Karen experienced with the Arizona exchange options. And so one of the nice things about using an exchange is that it will let you know exactly what you qualify for. In some cases, you may actually qualify for Medicaid, and you wouldn't even have to, purchase the insurance. So using the exchange. I was able to preview plans and the premiums. You can also look at the dental coverage options. So for adults, that's not going to be included in the plan. That's separate. You would have to purchase that separate. But for children, that has to be, vision and dental has to be included for children. Something I learned, and I think we read about that this week in chapter 3. So let's see here. For our particular case study, like Karen explained, this is a young person who has an active lifestyle, just fell off of their parents' employer-sponsored coverage and doesn't qualify for Medi-Cal. So I found this on the Covered California site, and this is also covered in our chapter 3, talking about the federal poverty level. And so based on this information in this chart, I don't know if you can see it that well. There's a better picture. So it's a single person, and you can see that up here at the top that premium assistance is eligible anywhere from 100% of the poverty level all the way to 400% of the poverty level. That's just kind of the rule of thumb, but it's not always going to be the case. I went ahead and went on the higher end to kind of contrast the info that Karen was giving you a few minutes ago through Arizona. So I put the annual income at $40,000 a year, and with that amount of income, my case study person was not eligible for any kind of lower premiums through tax credits. Anyway, 40 plans did appear, ranging in a monthly expense of $181 to $470 a month. Again, it was really user-friendly. You can compare based on deductibles, based on quality ratings, the tier levels, the features. Again, in chapter 3, we're learning about the tier categories. So, all of Arizona's options are the same as California's. So there's the platinum, the gold, the silver, and the bronze. And then in my filters, there was also an option to just look at the catastrophic plans, which according to our textbook, those are the high deductible plans. And from what I'm reading, those would only qualify you if you're under a certain age. So that will be our third question for our group is, what age bracket will a catastrophic plan be allowed? So that's about it. I did want to just throw out that it was really helpful. The site was easy to use, and one thing that I was able to learn was about the tax penalties. So I just had a job status change. I went from working part-time with benefits to per diem because I changed positions and they didn't have a part-time role for me. So I accepted a per diem spot, and I no longer have health care. So my kids and my husband have health care separately, but I had my own through my last job. So now that that happened, I'm just comparing the tools that were available to me, and one of them was to discover how much my tax penalty will be, which is going to be like $860 if I don't have coverage for the rest of the year. And then the other option is to go ahead and purchase insurance on my own through the exchange. And I want to say, I think I put it in my notes here, that there was I think an option for about $300 a month where I would be able to purchase my own private income coverage, something that my husband and I, now that we have some good information, will make. Is there anything else you want to add, Karen, before we close?
Yeah, I was just going to add that, yeah, the government website was really easy to navigate. And as you saw, I think it was like 7 steps total, to figure out what your coverage would be and what your plans were and what your options were. And there was various tools also to compare plans, and you had kind of ways to filter them if you wanted just all gold or all silver or all bronze. So, I mean, the government website is pretty easy to navigate through and should be, easy for somebody to be able to find coverage that they want and that they can afford. So, yeah, that's all I have to say.
Great. Okay, thanks for watching.
Thanks, guys.